presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. I have Sandra keyed up to make the presentation this evening. We're excited to present you with our thoughts on the strategic plan following the advance that you held in June, and we want some direction this evening. And so Sandra will make the presentation, and then we'll discuss the strategic plan where we're at. Sandra?
Thank you, John. Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor Osborne, and council members, I'm pleased to be in front of you tonight. I will be presenting this for the benefit of the public also, who has not been maybe in the loop on all of the information, so if anything sounds redundant, I apologize for that in advance. The City of Goodyear operates under a charter that establishes a city council to set policy and an administration to manage operations. Effective policies begin with a clear definition of why we exist and a focused vision for the future. On June 11, 2011, you, our Goodyear City Council, met with a facilitator to discuss your vision for Goodyear and begin our strategic planning process. There is no one way to plan strategically. Strategic planning, simply put, identifies where we want the city to go over the next 5 years and how we are going to get there. The process can be very different for every organization depending on needs and time. This is the model the City of Goodyear is using, and I will refer to it throughout this presentation to show you how the pieces integrate with each other. At the foundation is the city's mission. We exist to provide certain core services. These services must be provided. Next, we have the priorities that you set. These help clarify the mission by identifying the areas that need the most attention. Strategies are the methods we will use to set objectives at the departmental level. Objectives are the departmental level actions that must be taken to make progress. Tactics are the employee level actions that must be taken to make progress. At the pinnacle of our model is your vision. This is what you envision beyond the core services we provide. Tonight I will review the strategic planning process steps that have taken place to date, which include the city's mission and your take on the mission, and Council's vision and priorities that came out of the Council Advance in June of this year. I will present administration's interpretation of your input. I will define strategic planning process steps that will occur in the future, and finally I'll ask for additional input from you on the direction you'd like us to take. We begin with our purpose, the core services we exist to provide, in other words, our mission. Our current mission reads, the City of Goodyear will provide the finest municipal services and promote a quality environment to enhance our community's prosperity through citizen and employee participation. We are committed to the stewardship of resources and fulfillment of the public trust. Although many things have changed since this mission statement was developed, your recent definition of why we exist reflects the same core services: to ensure quality of life, public safety, and public health by providing city services such as public safety, water and sewer, parks and recreation, community development, courts, trash and recycling, environmental stewardship, streets and maintenance, transportation, and the library for residents, local businesses, visitors, and the environment. That came straight out of your advance in June. In the past few years, cities across America experienced dramatic budget and workforce reductions and had no choice but to diminish services to citizens. You, as elected officials representing Goodyear residents, recognized the rising cost of business. You approved a sales tax increase which, along with sound financial and operational planning, smart budget reductions, and employee innovation, has allowed us to continue providing the finest municipal services without any reductions to citizens. A mission is not adequate by itself. In addition to knowing why we are here, we must define priorities. Priorities help identify where we must devote resources to provide core business services and move us forward. At your advance, you brainstormed priorities for the next 5 years. These were organized into 4 categories which are presented here in no particular order: fiscal and resource management, create a hub of services and amenities to establish a sense of place for the city, economic development, and maintain a strong quality of life for residents. For our purposes, during our planning sessions, we edited these slightly, and I'd like to review those with you now. Create a hub of services and amenities to establish a sense of place for the city has become create a sense of community. Economic development has become economic vitality. And maintain a strong quality of life for residents becomes quality of life. Then, to help us create a meaningful picture, we took your priorities and developed goal statements for each. Here you see our commitment in the area, create a sense of community, is Goodyear will provide the community with unique and energetic places and opportunities to foster an enhanced sense of community. Under economic vitality, Goodyear will be the preferred location for diverse, high-quality development in order to provide a sustainable community. Under fiscal and resource management, we have defined the goal as the City of Goodyear will implement and maintain innovative and responsible policies and practices to ensure efficient and transparent fiscal and resource management. And finally, under quality of life, Goodyear will provide services and programs that enhance the lives of our citizens. Clarifying why we exist by revisiting our mission and learning your priorities enabled the leadership team to develop strategies. The leadership team is comprised of the leaders of each department. Strategies are the how in our plan, the methods departments will use as a guideline for setting their objectives. By identifying specific strategies, we remain focused and consistent in our decision-making process. At your advance in June, you suggested several strategies. You may or may not see those reflected in this proposed strategic plan. We did take into consideration every suggestion you made, and some of your ideas were very specific and thus lend themselves better to a departmental level objective. Here we see your priority, create a sense of community. Under this priority, Goodyear will focus on 3 strategies. Provide programs and services that bring the community together, develop or enhance gathering places, communicate and promote the benefits/image of Goodyear as a community. Now, as I walk you through the remaining strategies, please keep in mind that each and every department will use these as blueprints for their departmental level business plans. Their plans will take the strategies and put them into action, and I'll give you a couple of examples in a few minutes. Your priority, economic vitality, includes these following strategies: grow assessed valuation, expand and diversify revenue base, enhance local job availability, be recognized as a business-friendly city, develop infrastructure to support economic and community development, and establish high-quality development standards and guidelines. The priority fiscal and resource management includes 4 strategies: implement streamlined processes, expand and diversify the revenue base, provide quantity and quality of service levels based on a balanced budget, and create an employer of choice culture. And quality of life includes these strategies. Oh, I'm so sorry. Did I go too fast? Quality of life includes these strategies. Collaborate as council and staff towards a unified vision, ensure a safe community, ensure excellence in customer service, provide a clean and well-maintained community, be an environmentally sensitive community, promote healthy lifestyles, and ensure an engaged and informed community. For each of the strategies we just reviewed, there are measurements that help the city decide where, for example, process improvement or reallocation of resources may be necessary. And as you can guess, with 20 strategies and hundreds of departmental level objectives that must occur to reach the goal, there are also hundreds of measurements. Out of those hundreds, we have chosen particular measurements to report publicly, called Key Performance Indicators, or KPIs. These are measures that will show meaningful progress or lack of it in the priority areas. For each key performance indicator, we will provide periodic updates on our website for you and the public to review at your convenience. I want to note here that departments have been measuring many of these items for some time. What we are adding here is the link of the KPIs to your priorities and the public reporting component. As stewards of the public trust, we remain accountable to you and the public for our progress. Our goal is to provide a meaningful and easily read graphic to demonstrate progress. Did you have a question?
Not the sharpest grain in the box.
Yeah.
The 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 is just.
It's a graphic that I'll get to.
The graphic.
Yeah, and I'm going to blow it up in just a second.
What I was afraid of as I read this, I'm like, what the heck is 4,000? I didn't want anybody else to be
Thank you,
as
Bo.
confused as I was.
With few exceptions, our KPIs are focused on things we have direct influence on. Although we have included a few you may be interested in knowing about because we've invested funds or subsidized them in some way, such as the library. In total, there are 39 key performance indicators we feel provide the snapshot of internal operations you need to make effective policy and budgetary decisions. All 39 KPIs are included in your packet. Now I would like to highlight just a few. We'll begin with a fairly straightforward measure. As part of your priority for quality of life, we suggest that a particular strategy is be an environmentally sensitive community. The department takes strategic action in many ways, which we have called objectives. For example, some objectives in this area are presenting water conservation and recycling education, helping present the Tres Rios Earth and Nature Festival, inventorying the emissions of city operations and facilities, and many more. The success of each of these activities, in other words, whether they make us an environmentally sensitive community, is then measured by a performance indicator. In this example, let's use the Public Works objective to divert refuse from the landfill. To measure how successful we are at diverting refuse from the landfill, we will set a target. In this case, we believe we are successful if we divert 25% of refuse from landfills. Here you see a graphic, the graphic that was displayed on the model, that displays the target at the right, the actual current percentage, against a backdrop that helps us see at a glance how our performance stacks up against our target. This example would indicate our current performance is in the green area, meaning we are moving toward our target. If the indicator shows we are in yellow or red, it would mean we must recalibrate our activities to ensure we are as effective as we can be. We can provide graphics similar to this for all 39 KPIs, although for some a table or chart may be more appropriate. We have baselines and targets already in place for the majority of the KPIs, and we await your input before developing metrics for recently added indicators. Let's take another example. The council priority in this example is economic vitality. The strategy is be recognized as a business-friendly city. Let's take a look at how we would measure success. One way to measure success in being recognized as a business-friendly city is to look specifically at the time it takes for us to review plans and whether we meet our published cycle times. For the purposes of this fictitious example, let's say we meet our review cycle times 98% of the time. It looks like we're doing great. But another way to measure success would be to survey businesses and ask them to rate our business friendliness. This would be a new departmental objective. We haven't surveyed businesses before, so we don't have an actual. For this example, let's pretend that only 73% of businesses local rated us as business friendly. These survey results would tell us that review cycle times are not the only activities correlated with being business friendly, since we were really good at meeting our cycle times, but our rating on business friendliness is still low. That's why additional indicators are necessary at the departmental level. Many activities occur at the departmental level, like meeting businesses within 6 months of their opening and inviting businesses to meet with the city manager and mayor. Since the result we really want to measure, though, is whether we are business friendly, the key performance indicator is how businesses rate us. If the indicators in all the areas show we are meeting our targets, but the result, being recognized as a business-friendly city, is still not achieved, then we know to change course. Before we move to the pinnacle of our model, your Goodyear vision, here's a brief overview of what we've covered. At the foundation of the strategic plan is our mission to provide core services. The 4 priorities that Council has told us need the most attention, the strategies we believe will help us make progress in the priority areas Council set, and the link to your priorities and key performance indicators and our commitment to report these publicly on the website. After we receive your final approval on the strategies we propose today and the key performance indicators, each city leader will align their department's objectives and employee-level tactics with your priorities. Their final documents will be called departmental business plans. Each department will be accountable for updating their business plan annually. In addition, employee performance appraisals will be updated to reflect tactics assigned to individuals. The leadership team is committed to meeting quarterly for the sole purpose of reviewing progress or lack of progress toward their departmental objectives. And here's how the pieces integrate. We have the priority, quality of life. If this is a priority for you, and you agree that attention to the environment is a strategy to improve quality of life, then we will allocate human and financial resources to this strategy. During the budget process, we can reference your priorities and our strategies to help make the connection between our requests and the results clear. It will help us determine which strategies become secondary to free up necessary capital and human resources for projects and initiatives. This brings us to your vision. The vision is the inspirational force for organizations. Vision is what helped get the first man to the moon. It's what ended racial segregation, and it made Walter Payton the best football player of all time. Vision is what compels us forward, taking us beyond the day-to-day and giving us something to reach for. At your advance, you articulated what you believe the city of Goodyear will be known, celebrated, and admired for in the eyes of residents and other stakeholders 5 years from now. You said you would like the city of Goodyear to be a great place to live, work, and raise a family, the biggest small-town community in the valley, continuing smart growth and affordable housing, a city with healthy lifestyles and commitment to the environment. We will be known as a destination place for regional shopping, a destination for higher education designed for workforce needs, a place for diverse job opportunities and an inventory of industries, an incubator for entrepreneurs, a hub of arts and culture in the West Valley, a growing community that provides quality opportunities and lifestyles. Being known for regional shopping, higher education, in addition to being an arts and culture hub are all very noble aspirations. However, there's a saying, if everything is important, nothing is important, which is why I request additional direction from you now. Your vision would seem to add several elements above and beyond our core business areas. The core business areas or services we exist to provide have not changed. In fact, the need for services grows as our population grows, even when our revenues don't grow proportionately. The cost to provide these services at a certain level increases over time, so it would help for us to have the Council's single most important shared vision element so we can ask for and effectively allocate resources. To use an example, let's say you already owned a very reliable and practical car, one that isn't very flashy, but it gets you where you need to go and it doesn't cost much to keep up. But for years you've dreamed of owning a fast and beautiful car with really nice interior and a sweet stereo system. Your current budget doesn't allow you to just go and purchase the new car in spite of your strong desire to have it. You decide that you can save money by reducing expenses here and there until you can afford it. You sacrifice in other ways so you can have the dream car you've always wanted. The strategies we have proposed under each of the 4 priorities are Goodyear's very reliable and practical car. They are conceivable given current staffing and budgetary resources. The targets we set will cause each and every member of the team to work hard, stay focused, and use innovation to improve what we currently provide. In other words, to continue delivering the finest municipal services. Beyond that, your vision elements will require a shift of human and budgetary resources. What I respectfully request from you is a unified vision towards which we can collaborate with you. If you are able to tell us which of the vision elements you feel is most important, or even the top 2, it will really help us move forward with the accuracy of a laser beam rather than a floodlight. We are prepared to invite your advanced facilitator back to help you document your discussion if you feel like you would like to pursue this at another meeting. In closing, I would like to draw your attention to the mock-up of a strategic plan report that we included in your packets. We will be able to finalize this after your input. This will serve as a reference guide for departments as they develop their business plans and for the public to communicate the city's commitment to their well-being. What we need from you now is the clarification of your vision. What does the council agree on as the most important element, or as I mentioned, are there some 1 or 2 that you agree on as the most important elements? We'd like your approval of the edited priorities. I mentioned that we suggested some language changes. We'd like your input on the strategies suggested, and we'd like your input on the key performance indicators. John?
Thank you, Sandra.
You're welcome.
We'd like for your reaction to this and any input that you might wish to make with regard to any changes. What we envision is that we're hoping that you will want to go back with Judy Muller and have a discussion again to finalize this. And that's what our goal is right now.
All right, who would like to be the first to speak this evening? Joe?
Thank you, Mayor. To me, when you're building a house, just like with footers, you first have to have the footers sound where the house comes down. And I just don't see one key strategic. I see in several pieces. First, financial resources has got to be number 1. Without a good, sound financial plan, you can't build anything. To me, I like the idea when we talked about service delivery. I'm a firm believer we got to look at service delivery, more cost and efficient ways of delivering that service, whether we use technology or whatever. That's the expense side of the ledger. Then to me, the other side is the economic development. We got to grow our base in this environment. We're going to have to do more with less, which means, in my view, we've got to find ways of bringing on more businesses, more jobs, being more business friendly. And again, I always like to see where the benchmarks are something that are clear and measurable. For example, when you mentioned about business friendly, I like the ideas of the surveys. I like the ideas of time when they go out and do inspections, whether they have to do re-inspections, whether it was clear when they first were out there, whether, we communicated to our customers, the business, whether they knew right up front. So again, I like the follow back up. With Judy back up there. But I think there's more than just one. I still think we want to be a great place to work, raise a family, and have that high quality of life. But to me, without that base, then we got to figure out how we're going to squeeze more out of the resources without putting those demand on those individuals in our community. I think they're all related. So I'd like to see the focus, on the financial base, and then also on the quality of life issues. So,
Next.
thank you.
Jerry?
Move this closer.
I think you did a very nice job laying it out. It looks very nice, but I'm afraid what we have here is another government document that looks pretty is going to sit on the shelf somewhere. Our vision that we sat the afternoon is here. This isn't reflected at all in the priorities, not at all. What I see when I look through the key indicators is stuff we're already doing, so we can say, hey, look, we're doing it. I saw nothing in there about building our community. This was supposed to be a vision. It doesn't mean because of the priorities in the car that we have to have it tomorrow. But if you want that nice car, you think smart and you say, what are my goals for 5 years or 10 years? What's my vision going to be to get that car? How am I going to do it? Am I going to take on extra work? Am I going to do something else if I want that car? Am I going to save up, put so much aside? What steps or objectives that I'm going to take? When I look at this, I see, well, our objective for the landfill is to do 25%, but we're already doing 23. I feel like we're doing something to sit there and just pat ourselves on the back, and that's not a plan. If we're already doing it and we're doing 23 and our goal is 25, our goal should be 35. I'm just not happy with this at all. I was very disappointed when I read it. Like I said, it's pretty on its face, but there's nothing of substance in it. There's nothing that says this is what Goodyear can be, and I agree with Councilman Pizzillo. You need to have the financial. How are we going to get there? No one says we're going to be there and have a new library tomorrow or higher education. But I know I met with someone from ASU, and over a year ago, we asked for another RFP to go out on that. And the gentleman from ASU said no one from the city has talked to him for over a year. So I don't think we're following up. So I'm not going to, I don't like this. I don't like the format. I don't like the style. I don't like the language changes at all, because it isn't the vision and it's not what came out of it. It's nothing personal. You made it look very nice. But again, if I have the shiny new car but it doesn't have the motor in it, it's not going to go real far. And I think we're missing the motor in our car. So I would like to retool, come back. I don't care about having another retreat, but I thought we were very specific when we boiled it down, and it's on this page, what we were saying. And I think we need the financial goals, how we're going to get there. So nice presentation, just lacking on substance. That's my thought.
Next. Yes, Bill?
My comments are, Sherry, you talked about this vision slide. I was trying to look through what we came up with that afternoon versus, and some of the key language that was incubator, hub of arts. Those were the two that stood out predominantly. And I couldn't recall if we ever even talked about art that day.
I don't remember
And
doing that.
I know incubator did not come up at all, and it's not on the yellow paper. And those two things which we show on this slide as the vision of the council, I don't even think we even talked about. So my thought is that must be an interpretation of what was being said, and we tried to make it work. The other thing that really scared the daylights out of me was, I think it was in the very beginning, where there was this whole laundry list that had all these things that we wanted to do. And I got to find it now that I'm going to talk about it. It was,
Well, take your time and look for it. We have the time.
oh, here. The why we exist.
Why don't you say the page?
Why we
Page number.
exist. Page 8, slide 4. And it was, I looked at the mission, and then we talk about our definition, and our definition was every single thing that we do, and every single thing that we do is important, or we wouldn't be doing it. So I don't want to go down that road about essential or not essential, but I don't know that was our focus, and that was where we wanted to shine the laser beam on, and I don't know if we lost something in the translation between that. I'm trying to search for some of that, because, I realize the library's in there, and the library is really important, but again, I'm looking for, we didn't talk about the library in our discussion. It wasn't the key thing. And the things that were, the stronger ties with Goodyear, identify Goodyear as a hometown, getting people to feel emotionally attached and invested in their community. Those were big items for us during that advance, and that's not in here. The other thing was the increased business cluster presence. We spent a great deal of time talking about aerospace clusters,
Medical.
bioscience medical
Bioscience.
clusters. Those were really important, and that's that's not in here, but some of the standard economic development stuff is and whatnot. So I don't know if the answer lies in the translation, or if we need to have.
Devil's in the details.
Oh, exactly. Devil is definitely in the details. Or if we need to have the department. I'm trying to think if everybody was there, if all the department directors were there. Yeah,
No.
yeah, and I don't know if maybe that was the disconnect that led to some of this. I don't know, but I know that there are some things that aren't missing. You know, I was able to, and I didn't want to disrupt my slides for fear I was going to do something during the thing. So I was able to group them together, and I appreciate the economic vitality, you know, bullet, and then the strategies together. So these 8 slides really sum up the 30 or 40 of them that we have. So I'm not offering anything other than my observation.
Molly?
Thank you. Thank you for putting this together. However, because my name's going to go on it, this doesn't sound like something I would have said in my vision for Goodyear. And I feel like Councilmember Laritano and Stipp and Pizzillo that there's just parts that are missing that are very important to us. And our vision is not, it's clear to us, but it is not clear to staff apparently. And we need to work more on it. I'm not ready to proceed on this at all. I appreciate the work on it, but it's a very, it's just lacking some things.
It's a first draft.
It's a first draft, yes, and we appreciate that.
Joanne?
Well, I think the key item is here, the devil's in the details. Truly, that's where it is. That's what's missing. I will say that some of the items for quality of life were hit upon, and you know, it was funny. I was trying to tell you a little bit about blue zones last week, and there were actually, when it comes to blue zones, there's actually some of the things that are in that we put in our quality of life, and in blue zones, there are like about 9 key elements, but family, fellowship and friendship, faith, food, purpose of life, and exercise are actually some of the key elements, which really do lead to a quality of life. And some of those points we've hit on every one of them within this document, but it's the details that we're missing. It's almost like we have this little tiny summary, but it's not how we're going to get there. It's not how we're going to finance it. It's not how we're going to, and as you've all said, it doesn't have to be like it's tomorrow, but it's more, you know, the map of how we're going to get there, the flow chart of it all, I guess, in a sense. Some of the things that I can tell you when it comes to purpose of life that's in these blue zones are jobs, economic vitality, volunteerism. Volunteerism wasn't mentioned at all, and you know what? Our city's doing a great deal of that, and that is part of purpose for people. Exercise, always moving, activities, events. Food, well, you know what? Community gardens are a strategic indicator that we could be using within our neighborhoods. Wasn't mentioned. Faith, we all know. We have a lot of good churches around. That's always something key. And family and fellowships, events, activities. You know what? Yana really does actually fall greatly into that. You are not alone. That's back to fellowship and people feeling, you know, that someone cares. So there are key things that we're doing right, but we're just not finished here. And I appreciate the first draft, but I think everybody's saying we're still missing stuff. So I think that you've been given a little direction here.
Gary?
I'm going to go out on a limb and basically disagree with most of the council's comments. The vision is a lofty statement, and it should be brief and it should be short. And there are certain elements that in the council vision that we provided, some of which I agree on and some which I think are important. some of which I would say are lower priorities. First place, I'll look through this and say, Goodyear should be a great place to live, work, and raise a family. The next thing is a city with healthy lifestyles and commitment to the environment. The next thing is, job opportunities and economic vitality. And the rest is fluff. I'm just going to put it, the council has started to look at the tactics, and the tactics are what is supposedly done by staff. Our job is to create a vision, or at least enunciate a vision and see where we're going. Our job is not to go cut the grass down or implement a financial plan or implement a trash plan. I was very impressed with the measurable objectives. Whether I agree we're doing the right thing or we're measuring the right thing is something that we can define. And while Councilwoman Loretano said, well, we're doing all these things, and some of them we're not doing, and so we need to be able to look at that. We need to say to staff, okay, this is the core vision where we see the city, where we want to, 5 years from now, we want to say we achieved some of these objectives, and through their work, we can, we will be able to point and say this was done. It's not our job to give them the details on how to do it. Our job is to give them the overall strategic vision of where we want to lead this city.
Thank you, Gary. Joanne?
Gary, you are absolutely correct about vision. I totally agree with you. You are correct. However, there's a reason we are active council members, and there's a reason we attend all the different sundry workshops and seminars out there, because we do hear tactics that we like to, let staff know that are out there, that seem to be best practices, that seem to be steps for advancement that bring quality of life. And you're right, they are the foot soldiers. They are the ones that will follow up and do the heavy lifting. I agree, but sometimes there's nothing wrong with us giving, I'm not trying to micromanage, but there's nothing wrong with giving ideas. That's why we do these things. That's why we're here. But you're right on vision. We're not, that is correct.
I mean, if you looked at the model, the vision was the smallest item out of the whole pyramid. And almost the vision and the mission are almost, I won't say interchangeable, but they're the core. I hate to say it, I like the old mission better than the new mission. I just think it was more of what a city, a vital city should be. But the stuff in between, I'm sorry?
Was it succinct and to the point? Was that
Yeah, I mean, I thought the current one was fine. I can live with the new one. That's, we're starting to spell out more details. And that's where I disagree with you guys in getting into the details. I think the important stuff is for us to communicate where we want this city to be in 5 years and in 10 years. And that's a goal. That's a dream out there. And then, again, the tactics, the objectives, how each department is going to manage that goal is something that we're gonna let them create their department ideas. And then finally the metrics. I think the metrics are really important. When I was in business school, one of my first professors said, you guys better get to love the numbers. And I've learned how to love the numbers. I can read, and I'm saying, everything is not a measurable objective, but a lot of this stuff we can measure or we can get a feel for. And those are the important things.
Yes.
Okay. I agree with you with the vision, Gary, but this is a new council. We have enthusiastic, energetic members that maybe we don't want to do business as usual. Maybe we want to be more innovative. And we have to have that opportunity to collectively, between the 7 of us, come up with what we're comfortable with. And I think it's lacking some of the things. But you certainly may disagree with us, but I'm telling you, we would like to do things a little different. We'd like to be more innovative. We'd like to be heard. And if they cannot understand where we're coming from, they're going to keep doing just what they've been doing all these years and still getting to where they're going, but maybe not with what we want to do. I don't know how to say it any better.
Sherry?
I don't remember the recent council definition on the vision being what was on those
On the white sheets on the
on the white sheets, it being that detailed. So that we might need to go back and actually look at the white sheets, because I thought it was a lot more shorter, which a vision should be. And then I think what we're missing is we're meeting specific objections, and I think we're really missing the action steps on how to get there. That's what I want to see, is the action steps. So I think it is a good first draft. And I didn't say we're making all those goals, Gary. I said some of them, they just seem a little, if we're already doing it, then we need to strive to do better and set in 5 years we'll do this, or 10 years we'll do this. But if we're already doing it, it just seems like we're doing a pat on the back. I'd like to see us be more innovative and say, okay, we're doing it 23%. Let's strive for 30%. If we don't make it, not a big deal. But at least we can say we're striving for something, because otherwise, once you've made it, then what are you going to strive for? Or we have to come back and do it again? We need to have it so it lives a little longer. So.
I have this feeling that the sense that council's priorities were a little bit differently stated than what we're getting in here. And I think just because, John, of the time frame that we're in, the economic downturn we've all come through, the tough budgets, I mean, we have really been involved in having to make some really tough decisions. And you even mentioned it, the increase in the sales tax. So I think that when they received this report, they were really thinking of more hands-on direction to departments, and that's your job, but to relay their feelings inside. You know, like as I read through this, and I still think we should never lose track of our vision. I think we should have this vision up here. You know, my vision is still a city center. It's still a university. I haven't changed in all that, but I know I can't get there today. But how can I get there? How can I move that up to get there? And so I think am I getting some nodding heads? I think that's what was happening. And so with me, you know, I really have, first of all, citizens are the most important, and we have to do whatever we can do to help them through this time. And whatever services we can keep going, I mean, that's it. So me, citizens are right up here right now. So that's how I think. Second of all, and third and fourth is jobs, jobs, jobs. So I want to be number one in the West Valley in getting jobs. And I want to be the number one in capital investment in the West Valley, Goodyear. And I want us to be filling up, number one, all the square footage in the city absorbed. So that's my thinking. So so I have a hard time, too, being warm and fuzzy and all, but this is a time we have to set some kind of vision. So we've got to figure this out, how we're going to do this, but still getting across to the staff information that we need. And I you brought up the other night about the universities, like, you know, and I've talked to Mr. Fishback about that to see how we can bring that in and have more discussion on that. But, you know, it's a time in our life which warm and fuzzy doesn't do it. It's a time in our life when action does. And so I think that you have people here that want to see action taken. So what they want is, even though it's not our job, I'm looking at you moaning there, Gary, it's not our job. I don't want to be an administrator, and I often talk to Mr. Fishback about this. That's not why I was elected. I was elected as a policymaker, okay? I was elected to listen to the public, to find out what they want and how they want their city to, the end result the city's going to. I understand that. But there's that fine line that's extremely hard, because we've got citizens calling us on the telephone and sending us emails and making definitive demands. So it does bring us into, it does. Don't we often talk about this? Often I say, John, I think I've got my foot in your office again, and it's almost on your chair. So it happens. So how can we solve tonight? How can we still bring together, get together and decide that the mission, this is the dreamy mission, the vision we have up here? I mean, how do we do this, John?
I think some of the feedback we've received is all of the feedback we've received is very helpful. We can take it back to the drawing board and try again. As several people have indicated, it's a first draft. I was very pleased with this first draft, quite frankly. I think it's a long ways from where the city has been. And it's a long ways during a very, very difficult economic time. When we don't have the resources to put into different things that we hope to achieve. When we don't have resources to put into a university. I know that that's not an excuse not to have goals and not to have visions of that, but I think that let us go back to the drawing board, and perhaps what we need to do is work with a few council members and bounce things off of them as we redevelop the proposals.
Yeah, it could be that we're just, we're looking at this and the actual meaning of each of these categories, that we are not all on the same page of how we feel they should be achieved. Is that kind of, Joe? Go ahead.
No, excuse me. The only point I was trying to make is we have the outcomes of the visions, and I think a lot of them I can agree with, but to get there, and as you had mentioned earlier, the manager had mentioned, is tough times. So if we don't figure out a way strategically to figure out how to manage and grow those resources, either it's through the economic development or finding more cost-efficient ways of delivering services, we won't have those resources to push the mission. That's all I was trying to say is there's two pieces. You got to have the resources to get your vision to be fruition. And to me, there's two pieces. So at some point, we got to figure out what those resources and how we're going to attack that from a policy standpoint to grow that. And then the second part is once we see the mission and the vision, which I think a lot of us can agree on what's on there, maybe not all, but without the resources, it isn't going to happen. So that's the whole point I was trying to make. And to me, there's only two ways to do it, either through the cost savings, through efficiencies and effectiveness, or grow your base through economic development, bringing jobs, getting more businesses in here and be more business friendly so they want to come here instead of other places. And to me, those are the two pieces that kind of tie all of it together.
But we still have to have the vision statement along with all of that. Okay, so we're all in agreement that, there is an overall vision statement. And is there anything in that vision statement? What page is that on? Can you? 8. So why we exist, is that the page I should be having?
I thought 30 was.
What was it?
30 is the
30.
vision.
30 was the vision.
8 is the mission.
The mission reflects those core services that we have to provide,
All right,
and
which
then the
page?
vision is the pie in the sky, pinnacle of the model.
Okay, so what pages should we be looking at? Let's pull. All right, I have 30 in front of me. Council vision,
I have 2, I have 29 and 30.
They're the same slide.
but that is more specific. That's not a vision, right? This is not what we call a vision statement
No.
per se. It's more like this one here.
Yes.
All right. So we're looking at two different things here. So we want to come together on a overall mission statement. This is the second vision, which is things council wants to see you move forward, is on page 30, right? If you look at that. I mean, part of this council vision is the great place to live and work and raise a family and all of that in the biggest town, and the lifestyle, absolutely. But in order to get any of that, this is all of the, it's tied to economic development. So this is not my line of work, and so.
Well, and as Sandra mentioned at the beginning, strategic planning is a very undefined science.
Yes, it is.
I mean, and that's why we reviewed with you carefully, okay, here's the strategic planning that we're doing. And obviously you disagree with some of that, and that's fine. And so we need to go back and try to hit the mark now that we've had some feedback. It's very difficult to come up with a strategic plan without having discussions like this. I mean, it's like throwing a dart in a blind thing. How do you pick what you're going to say?
And I think this is healthy.
Yeah.
So hey.
So, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So.
Since we, holy smokes, since we haven't done this in 5 years.
Ever.
Yeah. We got to start somewhere.
That's right. Can you pull the microphone a little closer to you, please?
Now. So what I'm really struggling with is this idea that we've separated mission and vision. Usually we set a vision and then we have a mission. Your vision comes first and then your mission, and then everything else falls beyond that. And on the pyramid, and this is what really threw me off in the very beginning, thinking that we've completely separated mission and vision, and they're at opposite ends of the pyramid, and that, as a manager, that really bothered me, that we're not tying those two things together. And then when we look at why we exist, which the current mission statement is a mission statement. This is referring to page 8. I'm sorry. If I remember, that was created when we actually created a mission statement for the city, and I'm going to look to some of the guys that have been here for a while. This mission statement goes back to early 2000s, right? 2002. Yeah. And it kind of defines what we as a city have been doing all along for the last 10 years. And your mission really never changes as an organization unless you completely retool your operation. Whether you're selling watches or diamonds, you're a jeweler. Mm-hmm. And so the mission is always the same. So I don't necessarily agree that we have a change of our mission. And if we can say that the current mission statement is the current mission statement of the city, that at least helps us move forward, provide staff with some direction, and then the mission or the vision piece we can pick up is kind of where I'm driving with that, and try to get that more into a statement rather than a series of bullets may help provide staff with some direction, which is why I think this discussion is really important. As we move through, we can debate all day whether we're in the weeds or not in the weeds, but until we get these two things squared away, this is also a waste of time. But.
And I hear you. I think what you're saying, Bill, I agree with you, but I don't think we can do that around this table. I think we need to go back and try again.
Well, if we're going to say what the council's vision is, then the council needs to say it. If we're going to talk about what the city's vision is, then I think staff and council need to say that. That's what I'm driving at. If we're going to say this is council's vision, then these 7 people need to say this is what we're seeing. If we want to have the city's vision and we want to listen to the professional staff, then we need to provide them with direction, is what I'm guessing. And to be very honest with you, I've heard it a couple times tonight, and it's extremely disturbing. I'm hearing the us and them. And, we cannot even go down that road of, well, if we do this, then they can't do that. And as a council, that scares the life out of me. That's what leads to separation of a shared effort.
Well,
So please, if we're going down that road, I'm gonna scream.
No, I don't think
stop.
we're going down that road, but you do have to divide it up. It is written, it is the way it is, and so I felt it was very important to bring that up. And I have seen a lot of overlapping. So since I've taken office, I have never had a time when I had to address that at all. It's been a team, and I think that you as council people have worked well as a team. I think the staff does. I think John and I have been a team, so I don't see that. So, but it is what it is, and when it's a manager, mayor, and manager form of government, that's what it is. Okay, so
right on with that.
we do have to go by certain guidelines. So, but it can be done, I think, with good communication. So I want you to define what you want John to take back. Is everybody in agreement here of what you expect the end result to be, what you want to come back from staff?
Can I just
Yes.
throw the recent council definition on page 8 is everybody's everybody, every department is mentioned in that. And it's the peanut butter approach. We're going to give a little bit to everybody, and we're not going to leave anybody out. And if we leave somebody out, they think their whole department's going to be eliminated. I don't think that's the case, but I think we'd be making a giant mistake if we thought we could treat every single one of the things listed in that new definition equally.
I agree. In fact, when I read that, I was thinking, oh, what if we're leaving something out? I mean, that was my first,
Yeah.
when I first read it. And then I went to the current one, and I did like the current
I
better.
like the current one better. It
Yeah,
states
I
more.
like the
It's a
current-
mission statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more of a mission statement.
It's a real mission statement.
Yeah.
No, I thought we were being too.
I don't think we ever said this.
I don't think.
I think we said these are the things, but I don't think we meant
The
that
mission.
we thought as a short mission statement. But
That
these
is-
were
that
things-
is true.
These were
Brainstorming.
these
That
were
is true.
areas that were very important to us.
And it was presented this way to show the similarities, even though one mission statement was created so many years ago, when you were talking about who you exist to provide services for and what services you provide. Wow, it's the same. Mm-hmm. And that, if I can, because I got the floor, I wanted to address your question about the foundation of the pyramid. You know, the pyramid it's kind of a dangerous model to use because you will have physical distance between some parts, and it makes it look like there's a priority or that they're not linked. However, that was a very deliberate choice to put the mission at the bottom of the pyramid, and the reason being that the pyramid is the most sound geometric form known to man, and you need to have the certain core services that the city provides at the foundation of this form. We exist to provide these services. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but we don't exist necessarily to provide higher education yet, or arts and culture yet. So we did that to show that we have to provide certain core services, but then we want to stretch the pinnacle of the model is the vision, and so that's what we want to reach for. The staff is very innovative. They are ready. They did not think in any way that they were presenting you a full strategic plan. That's why in the mock-up you'll see that there are lots of blanks. The vision is blank because really when we got to the drawing board and we looked at all of these fantastic things that we absolutely want to be, where do you start? And in 5 years, what is it that's really the priority? And I heard some of that tonight about the priority is the jobs and the economic development and the incubator of industries and whatnot. And so I think, yeah, incubator of industries, thank you. And so that does give us more to go on. But where Bill was going, where he said clarifying that vision, that would be immensely helpful to us as we move forward.
Joe?
Can I make a suggestion? I think, and you tell me if I'm off here, Mr. Manager, but I think you've probably heard enough that you can probably draft a short vision statement that includes a lot of the ideas we threw out there tonight. Email all of us independently and ask us for some feedback on the specifics. And again, we can get rid of the bullet points. We'll have something like a paragraph that encompasses everything you heard, whether it's economic development, safety, vibrant community, educate. You could put all that into a piece in a paragraph form and get feedback from all of us. And I think we can probably come up with something along those lines to meet what Councilmember Stipp mentions and what some of the
I
others
think
mentioned.
that's a great idea, Councilmember Pizzillo. I will have to work with Mr. Massey, however, to make sure that we live within the open meetings law.
No,
And that's the
That's
trouble that
That's
we
the
have.
problem, and that's why we have to, I know we're going to get criticized from some of the outside sources, how basic this conversation has been, and dare we say we don't understand something, or dare we do this or that, but this is how you work through it. Everything we do and say and has to be right out in front of public, and so we're doing it. It may not be sophisticated, and it may not, meet everybody's expectations, but this is how we're going to get there, by having this conversation. So, Joanne?
Yeah, one last thing for me. This comes back to the fact that we're calling it a strategic plan, and in my mind, when we say strategic plan, I'm thinking of actual action steps.
Yeah.
And so I know Gary's saying we have a vision and we shouldn't be having that detail, but when we say strategic plans, I'm looking for the action steps. And so Wally and Georgia both said it. We're action people. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's why we want to see some more of that. And that would be helpful for me, too. Thank you.
Madam
Yes.
Mayor, Mr. Fishbach?
We can go by first names at a work session. We talked about that, so go ahead.
John?
Yes.
Could we have another work session? Or can we, I mean, if you meet independent with all of us and you get our ideas, then you come back and we still don't agree, we may need another work session.
I think we do,
I just don't
definitely.
think we can come up with something to move forward completely on an hour conversation. When we barnstormed at our retreat, we talked about a lot of things, and we were just really getting to know each other. And I just think we need to have more conversation until we're all real comfortable with this, if you don't mind.
Absolutely, Wally. I believe that that's very important, and
Thank you.
I think that that is a good next step. I mean, so.
Okay, yes.
I was just going to agree and say maybe, we've got several work sessions set, rather than waiting till you do the whole plan and then you say, hey, could you change all of this about, maybe if we do just 20 minutes on some of the work sessions coming up and a little bit at a time incrementally, so we're all on the same page, so you guys know where we're looking at, and so we don't have this impasse, and you guys have put all this work in. If we can kind of monitor as it goes along, I think that might be helpful, so time and staff's time isn't wasted.
Okay. Any other comments?
Good suggestion.
Okay, with that, we're going to adjourn the meeting, and we can take a break, right? Because we said following this meeting,
Following
is
the
that
meeting,
right?
yes.
Okay, so meeting adjourned. Oh, wait a minute, let's say 6:10, is that?
Yeah.
All right, be back at 6:10.